Online streaming platforms are in full swing with Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Disney Plus turning out content on rapid. So this begs the question, why are we not seeing our Caribbean content? ICT consultant and entrepreneur Michelle Marius and filmmaker, writer, director Nadine Rawlins join me. And we're going to be talking about that right now. Morning, ladies. Welcome to Smile Jamaica.
Morning.
Good
Thank
morning.
you.
Thanks for having me.
Michelle, I'm going to start with you. First of all, are there a number of Caribbean streaming platforms? Before we get to the content, do we have our own streaming platforms?
We absolutely do. We have maybe about two or three. At least one of them readily comes to mind. It's called Film Co to Go. It's started in Trinidad and Tobago. It was an offshoot of the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival. Mm-hmm. But there are others that have been coming on stream. And I do think, though, that hopefully these on-stream, on-demand platforms are really going to help to give some visibility to Caribbean content and encourage more Caribbean content to be produced.
Why? Why are we encouraging them? Because, you know, sometimes I think as creatives, when we say we want to see more content, people think we just want to show up ourselves. I don't think they understand the magnitude of the business and just how much money can be earned from online content.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, that is such a powerful question that you're asking because, yes, I mean, there is money to be made. But I also think that we as Caribbean people need to be proud of our stories and to be able to tell our own stories. Because one of the challenges that I have experienced and observed particularly is just the fact that we don't seem to control as much of our content, our stories, as we ought to. You know, over the decades, other, you know, international platforms, whether even for books and so on, have come documented our stories, our history, our lives, but we don't know what they have. We don't know how to access it. So I think there is almost as if there are some question marks about our past and how we did things and how they have carried up into the future. Why do we do the things that we do? These are some of the questions that could be asked when we delve into who we are as a people.
Yeah. Nadine, I want to bring you in here because you've done your own film, Traytown, and I know you've been trying to get it into the space. What are some of the challenges that you've been facing? Because it's one thing to say, you know, we need the content, get the content out, but what are the challenges for us as Caribbean filmmakers?
Well, the thing is, it's a global market and it's very competitive. When you have streaming platforms like Netflix and Hulu that has many content streaming daily, and you have the Caribbean streaming contents that, you know, really are not much, it's really difficult. But it really comes down to a point of contractual arrangement. I mean, I have been approached by streaming content creator and platform out of the diaspora. And it was a matter of the contractual arrangement. They wanted to lock me into a worldwide distribution. So there was a point where I'm thinking, no, okay, so suppose it comes to a point where I'm being approached by a Hulu or an Amazon, I will be locked in a worldwide distribution with a streaming platform that may not have the kind of reach that a Hulu or a Netflix has. So it really boils down to the filmmaker and what they will decide. Luckily for us as filmmakers in the Caribbean, we do have from time to time, you have agencies and associations such as JAMPRO, Women in Film and Television, Jamaica Film and Television. They do have call out from these international streaming platforms. You know, when they want content, they will send through these associations to say, okay, we want to approach Caribbean filmmakers to see what they have. It doesn't really happen a lot, but it is happening more frequently than before. And so that is really hopeful for us as filmmakers here.
Yeah. Michelle, you raised an interesting point, and I was saying it to my colleagues here, that while we may not have Caribbean content, the brands are very visible. Jamaica is constantly referenced, our flag, colors, food. Me see a lady the other day talking about she cooking stew chicken. I was like, what? And it's so yeah. So you said it is important for us to tell our stories, but how important is it for us as a brand to reclaim reclaim the power of the brands that we have, which are clearly very attractive to viewers globally?
Absolutely. I mean, that I think is an interesting question, because sometimes, or there is a saying, imitation is the best form of flattery. So the fact that, somebody who has probably never set foot in Jamaica is cooking stewed chicken says something about just the power of the brand and the reach of the brand. But I guess it also means that we, as Caribbean people, as Jamaicans, how proud are we of our brand, and whether or not, I mean, yes, we say, Jamaica to the world and brand Jamaica and so on, but it is in these sorts of actions. Are we telling our stories, or are we eager to consume and relate to content from outside of the region, outside of Jamaica, more than we are for what we are producing here and what is happening here? So it may not necessarily just be about films and the creative arts and what is being produced, but how much interest are we taking in what is happening here, what is happening in the region?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Michelle, tell me now about the infrastructure that's going to be required. What kind of infrastructure? Because Nadine mentioned Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, but they have a particular type of infrastructure that can, I guess, manipulate the quantity and still maintain a certain amount of quality. What kind of infrastructure do we need? The kids can't even go to school on the infrastructure that we have.
That is true. Unfortunately, I really can't speak to the exact specifics of the infrastructure, but clearly, having solid, if the platform is hosted in Jamaica, then clearly you need to have a solid broadband internet. You certainly would need to have systems in place as it relates to electricity, such that, I mean, clearly, JPS can't take the power and somehow the platform just goes down. So, there are going to be things like that. And I think the technical infrastructure requirements are one thing, but as Nadine was saying, what are going to be the contractual arrangements that one is going to get into with the creatives in terms of how they're sharing, and also the reach of the platform, because it's all well and good that you create a platform here in Jamaica, let's say for Jamaican content and the like, but who is going to do all of the marketing? How much money are you going to put behind the promotion such that the platform can grow? And I guess one may not necessarily say to compete with the Netflix and the Hulus and the Amazons of this world, but to really, create its own niche and figure out what that is and be happy with the platform that they have been able to create. And of course, the creatives and so on who are associated with the platforms are also happy with what it can do for them.
Yeah. Shameless plug, of course. We have onespotmedia.com. I was coming to you, Nadine. Yes, chime in, please.
Oh, I wanted to chime in in terms of infrastructure. Now, I'm not a techie, but I would hope, and I see it happening, especially with Filmco. The infrastructure should include development programs. I know it's not IT based, but developmental programs, it's so important, because in order to maintain sustainability of these platforms, we need content to be flowing in all the time. And so we need to have workshops and programs for screenwriters, directors, producers, cinematographers, so that these young people coming up, and even if you're not young and you just decided that one day when you're in your 40s you wanted to write a film or to do a film, you have programs, developmental programs that you can enter and participate in, and in order to have content all the time. Because sometimes you look at these platforms, I was doing some research the other day, and there was a particular platform that was, it has been for a while, and there were about 3 films on there. And, it's unfortunate. It's a Caribbean platform, and it's unfortunate because it's sustainability and continuity that we're not seeing.
Yeah. Final question to you, Nadine, before I go. When we say reflect Caribbean content, just how committed are we to doing that? I find, people know I love African content, I love Indian content, because when I watch them, I get a real sense of their culture. I learn things about them, why they dress the way they dress, how they speak, their physicalities. Do we tend to be too Hollywood in Jamaica? And really, it's the time that we need to decide that we have a Jamaican aesthetic that says, like reggae music, this is our film kind to reflect who we are?
I don't think so. If we look at last year when Netflix premiered Sprinter, it was very Jamaican, extremely Jamaican. There was some subtitle. If you want subtitling, you can get that if you want. But the writers and directors and producers, they made sure that the language was very authentic. And so what we saw with Sprinter is that Sprinter was in the top 10 for many weeks. Now, this may be the algorithm of the region, and that's why it was pushed to number in the top 10 for weeks. But at least it's an indication that Caribbean people want to see Caribbean content. They want to see ourselves on television. We want to hear our big screen, hear our language, want to see our people. So maybe that was in the past, but I think no. And based on my experience, what I've been seeing is that people are in need of seeing authenticity of our language, of our people, our culture. So I think that's not the case right now in my experience.
All right, awesome. Nice talking to you, ladies. It's a conversation that has to be continuous, eh? To keep talking about it until it becomes reality. Absolutely. So thank you both for all that you do. ICT consultant Michelle Marias and filmmaker, writer, and director Nadine Rollins. Smile Jamaica continues after this.